Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar workshop. We'll be discussing the new and redesigned approach to documenting and monitoring your business processes with Solution Manager 7.2 today. We have Valdrin Sahihe, a senior solution manager and experienced SAP consultant with Core ALM. With that being said, I'll jump into a quick introduction about Core ALM and then hand it over to Valdrin for the main topic. So here's a little bit about us. We are a dedicated team of experts focused on digital transformation lifecycle. We specialize in SAP solutions, and our team is made up of former SAP practice leads for North America, with each of us over a decade of experience. So our team is well versed with Solution Manager, and we know ALM inside out. We are recognized as an industry leader in ALM services and had multiple Fortune 400 companies use our services. Here are some of the services that we currently offer. Our team is pretty versatile and cover a wide range of services from Solution Manager to HANA implementation to focus solutions. Do note that we have a series of dedicated workshops planned for topics like change management and test suite over the next few months. So check back if these topics interest you. So Solution Manager is the heart of Core ALM, and this is some of the things that Solution Manager offers. So it encompasses the whole ALM application lifecycle management, and this is basically what Solution Manager does. And here's some of the awards and accolades that we received. We are SAP partner and certified in Run SAP implementations. So this webinar workshop is meant to be educational. It's part of our company's culture to give back to the SAP community, and we make it interactive. We have poll questions throughout the webinar, so we can learn and adapt and better provide workshops in the future. Also, if you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you. You can submit a question to the presenters by typing in the question pane of the control panel on the GoToWebinars interface. So our agenda today is basically a quick Solution Manager 7.2 overview, what's new in solution documentation. Then we move on to business process monitoring in Solution Manager 7.2. And Valdrin will give a live product demo and followed by a Q&A session. You may send in questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. With that being said, we're going to jump into our first poll question. So do you have an active Solution Manager project? This is for us to understand, the audiences of our workshop webinar, so that we can cater them better. So basically it's a yes, no, or not sure poll question. We'll give another few more seconds for everyone to answer. All right, going to close the poll right now and sharing the results. So I guess you guys are in the right workshop because most of you guys have a Solution Manager project running. Moving on. So I'm going to hand it over to Valdrin for his slides.
Thank you very much, Ivan. Thank you for all the participants for joining this webinar. My name is Valdrin Sahihe. I'm one of the senior consultants here at Core ALM. And in today's session, what I would like to do is, our agenda is pretty much to go over SAP Solution Manager 7.2. We'll go over the solution documentation, what has changed from 7.1 to 7.2. Then we'll jump into the business process monitor and how to actually monitor those business or those documentation and business processes that we document. And then also a live demo of our system for documentation and business process monitoring. And then we'll open it for Q&A. So from one of the first slides that I want to start with, just to bring it to your attention, is if you're familiar with SAP Solution Manager, or if you're not, 7.1 will be out of support as of end of 2017, which means pretty much you have about 6 months to plan an upgrade to go to 7.2, or if you're not utilizing 7.1 as of today, so there's other ways to do it. For example, installing a brand new 7.2 Solman instead of going through an upgrade process. So that's just something to keep in mind. You can still use 7.1 after end of 2017. However, SAP will not provide any more support. There will be no new features added, or any bugs and fixes will not be fixed past end of 2017. So now, with that said, what I would like to do is we would like to have another poll question where we go and see how many of you have actually upgraded to SAP Solution Manager 7.2. So similar to the other poll question, but you should see on your screen if you can answer this yes or no, and then we'll kind of have a better of an understanding how many customers on this call or clients do we have that have actually upgraded to 7.2. Thank you for taking your time to do that. Okay, so it looks like we're about 35% of our attendants have upgraded to 7.2, and the rest are in the know. So if you have any questions, so if you're planning a 7.2 upgrade, you may reach out to us. We can discuss options that you have to upgrade to 7.2. Okay, so pretty much what's really new with 7.2, as you may know, 7.2 adopts SAP HANA, which means 7.2 does run in SAP HANA. The best, or I guess the most valuable part of that is that the license for HANA is free with SAP Solution Manager 7.2. There's no additional cost for installing on 7.2. So if you're currently paying for a license, for an Oracle license or for any other traditional database, this is something to think about where you can migrate to SAP HANA or install SAP 7.2 directly on SAP HANA with a free license. Some of the reasons, or top 5 reasons why you should go to HANA with SAP Solution Manager. Really, when you think about it, these days we have HANA everywhere, and that's SAP's future. They're going towards S/4HANA. It's a door opener, meaning that if you do install it on HANA, you can install it in a sandbox or development SAP Solution Manager, and you can have your DBAs play with SAP HANA, get a good knowledge of how HANA actually works without having to pay the license cost. So it's HANA is an in-main memory database, so the speeds are a lot faster for SAP Solution Manager for most of its capabilities and functionality. And then some of the new features that comes with HANA is the searching functionality, where before you have to use tracks system for searching. Now that searching is built within the HANA database. And also it does real-time comparison of your ITSM tickets because of the search capabilities that are within SAP HANA. So now if you do decide to go with SAP HANA on SAP Solution Manager, you do not have to have another track system, so you wouldn't have to have any additional hardware to install a track system because it only runs on Windows. That searching capabilities is integrated within the HANA database. So it'll be less hardware, less maintenance to maintain another system within your landscape. Some of the new interfaces within SAP Solution Manager 7.2. So pretty much all of the UIs has changed to, excuse me, to the Fiori Launchpad. So once you log into the SAP Solution Manager, it's all Fiori Launchpad. So they're role-based, so meaning depending on what type of roles you have, those are the tiles that you will see on your screen. So improved user experience. So overall, once you log into the SAP Solution Manager Launchpad, it's the entry point for all of your tiles. You can also have different type of tiles. So for example, from different systems, you can integrate those tiles within SAP Solution Manager and have one entry point to go to different systems from that Fiori Launchpad. So again, the Launchpad offers role-based access to work centers. The roles, some of the roles have changed in 7.2. However, most of the roles are the same for some of the functionality. So the Fiori interface, so it's also available for mobile applications, and it's supported in most of browsers. So as far as Safari, Google Chrome, Firefox, all of those browsers are supported for the Fiori. From a searching capability-wise, once you log into the Fiori app, you're pretty much able, if you are on HANA, you're able to search anything from the search box. So even if it's a document directly into your Fiori application, you should be able to search for any type of document, any type of functionality, any type of feature within SAP Solution Manager. And now we're going to jump into the solution documentation. Excuse me. So what's new really with SAP Solution documentation? So as you remember, before, all of your process diagrams were documented within the GUI. Now what you'll see is they're system enrolled based on BPMN 2.0 standards. So very friendly, easy to document all of your business processes within the Fiori Launchpad. So you have a more simplified landscape management where before you had project and solutions, now you only have solutions, and all of your environments are managed. All of your landscape is managed within one solution. Also, the SAP introduced branching. So, for example, if you have a development branch, so similar to your N+1 landscape, you would have a development branch and a maintenance branch. That's how you would link your systems and your logical components. So the grouping of the systems is based on business purposes and not on the technical complexity that it was before in 7.1. So you have a more flexible business process management where before you were only able to document 3 levels. So you were able to document your scenario, your business process, and your business process step. In 7.2, you can go as many folders deep as you would like. So, 10 folders, whatever how many levels of processes, you can document that many levels. So there's no limitation as to how deep you can go within the business processes. And also there's an easy process to redocumentation. So you have your automatic generation of business process documentation based on the UPL and user and procedure login. So depending on how much you use in your system, for example, your managed system, you can generate a library on those components. What this would generate for you is all of your executables, all of your programs that you run on the managed system, and that is being used based on that UPL data. So at least it can give you a head start of, to document some of your business processes and to know what exactly you run on your managed system. I'm going to talk a little bit about libraries on this screen. In 7.1, I'm just going to compare 7.1 and 7.2 in most of these slides to show you the differences and the new changes that have been made, so you can make a better decision for SAP Solution Manager 7.2. In 7.1, you had an unstructured storage. You could not document libraries in there, or you could not reference documentation. You could reference it by links, however, that's as far as you could go. In 7.2, so again, more than 3 levels, so with an improved structure. You can have 4 or 5 levels, as many as you'd like. Storage of the objects is a separate library, so now you have libraries where you can store all of your technical items. So for example, all of the executables, configuration, IMG objects, including documentation and process steps, they can be documented in a separate level. And the reason why you would do that is because you want to reuse, because those objects are, those technical aspects and elements are reused in the business processes, in multiple business processes. So this way you don't want to document additional elements in multiple places. So you remove the redundancies this way when you only reference it once. So if you, in my screen, what you'll see here is, for example, on the right side, you'll see the library. So you have your, in this case, you have your transactions, your VA01, your VA02. As you can tell on my left side, I have my business processes. So my executable library, if it was generated automatically based on my UPL data, what I can do, then I can just go and reference my transactions directly into my business processes to reduce those redundancies and document those manually. This is part of the solution documentation libraries. As you can tell here, you see that in this screen, you have my process steps. For example, I have my sales and distribution, and that based on SAP components. And then underneath, you can see the objects that belong to that to that object. So, for example, I have executables, create sales orders, which would be VA01, and then I have my test cases as well attached to this process steps. And then that process step would be attached to my business process. So this is within the library, and then it would be attached to my business process. In this screen, you'll see that I have my end-to-end business process. So depending on if your processes are document modular or end-to-end, either way, this would work. You can have different variations of those depending on how you document them within your business process. And I'll give you a better overview when we jump into the demo. So the documentation, the solution within SAP Solution Manager, it's pretty much a lump sum of your system landscape, of your processes, and then you have also the branch and the SAP introduced. But within these three items, what you'll have, you have all of your interfaces, all of your documents, so all of your artifacts, executables, alerts. So pretty much it's a lump sum of a single source of truth of all of your SAP documentation. I mean, if it's not SAP as well, but most of the SAP documentation, interfaces, diagrams within your solution. To get to your solution documentation, once you log into SAP Solution Manager, you'll notice, depending on the roles that you have, but you'll have a solution documentation tile on there that takes you directly into the solution documentation. And I'll give you a better overview when we jump into the demo for this. So now I'm going to jump a bit on a business process monitoring, going to go over the presentation, and then I will do the demos for both of these, for solution documentation and business process monitoring, and link them together and give you a better overview how they actually link together. Similar to solution documentation, you'll have a grouping of tiles for business process operations. So depending, if you're using analytics, data consistency management, or alert inbox, or monitoring, you would click on one of these tiles and it would take you directly into one of those capabilities. So really, what are the benefits of using business process monitoring? You can gain great visibility over business processes, including interfaces. So you'll have a better understanding of what business processes are running, what business processes are failing, depending on the KPIs that you do set up. You can gain comparability, or you can compare different items, such as your plants, your purchase, and your sales organization within your company. So that way you know exactly what plants are doing better than others. You can gain end user acceptance satisfaction, and what SAP means by this one is because of monitoring your business processes, you'll be able to get alerted on an issue of a business process before the user actually runs into the issue. So you will get a better satisfaction from your end users. Improve service level fulfillment in regards to vendors, suppliers, customers. So by monitoring your business processes, you'll be able to get alerts to improve the service for your vendors or for your customers, whoever it might be. That depends on your application. And also, this can prevent cost-intensive systems or business process downtime. A couple of ways to get to the business. So in today's session, we're going to talk about the monitoring piece and the KPIs. A couple of ways. So you can go from the Solman Work Center and go into business process monitoring, or from the Fury Launchpad, and it will take you directly into the business process monitoring KPIs, where you monitor it will show you a grouping of the KPIs that you're monitoring. The monitoring application provides a segregated information of alerts per business process or the business process area. So depending if it's a through output and backlog, if it's a job, interface, exception, if it's performance, or data consistency, on the top you will see what type of alerts are you collecting and how those alerts are doing. So in what stage are those alerts? If they're in good stage, if they're in red, in an error stage. If you have multiple solutions within your environment, you can also go directly into a different solution. Also, a lot of customers have different environments, meaning that they might monitor KPIs for a quality system or for a dev system, dependent. But you can also switch from a system role if you're monitoring different KPIs from a different system. Really, what you get from a KPI, for example, if you look at my screenshot here from the value, so if that KPI, if that data collection collected some data and it was past that, the metric that they set up failed, if you do click on that value, what that actually does, it does search directly into your managed system and will bring you a list back of those items. So for example, in this screenshot, we have sales documents with a billing block. So we said if we have more than 10 documents that have a billing block, we would like to get alerted. So what this does is it would send you an email, you would get an alert. But from there, not that you can just see which documents have a billing block, but you can actually click on that and it will do a search query directly into the managed system, and it will spit out all of those documents that have a billing block on them. So this way, it's easier for, instead of going to the managed system, building a query to search for those documents with a billing block, you can directly go from here, find the document, and resolve the issue from there. You can also see a trend over time. So a trend over time would be, for example, if today I got 502 documents with billing blocks, so how many documents did I have yesterday or before? So this way you kind of see a trend if there's actually something going on within the system. If yesterday I had 10, but today it jumped to 500, if something has changed in the environment that's causing these documents to fail. So this would be the trend over time period. So we'll show you the trend over time, and depending on your BW data or when you set up the KPIs, you can go as far as years to see how this data was collected for this KPI. You can also go directly into the process graphic representation for this monitoring object. So if you click on the link there, it goes directly into the process graphic, and this is just a better graphical view to see where exactly which business process is failing. So for example, if your create sales order failed, obviously all of the rest of the business process after that are going to fail because due to the create sales orders having some type of issue. So it just gives you a better graphical representation of how your process flows are documented. Directly from your process graphic, you can go into your alert inbox and work with those issues from there. So another way to get into the alert inbox. So now I'm going to jump into the alert inbox. So once you get these alerts and you consume the KPIs, the alerts, the email notification, what do you actually do with the alert inbox? And what are the capabilities of the alert inbox to move forward? Similar to the business process monitoring, there's an alert inbox tile that you can click on to go directly to the alert inbox. From there, you have a solution branch. So if you have multiple solutions, again, you can define what solution you want to go to, what system role, and what business process do you want to view alerts for. From there, you have different types of capabilities that you can do with the alerts. You can confirm these alerts. You can assign these alerts to different processes, for example. You can create incidents directly out of these alerts, or you can simply just confirm these alerts if they're not issue related. So alerts usually are grouped into one unless you define otherwise. But the reason why they're grouped is because the data collection, every time it runs, it generates a new alert within that grouping. So this way we don't want to pretty much fill users' inbox with a bunch of alerts every time the data collection, because it could be as minimum as 5 minutes. So this way, you would get one alert, and then underneath on there, you would see every time the data collection ran, what type of alert did it provide back. At times, if yesterday was red, today could have been not an error, could have been that the issue was resolved somehow. From your alert inbox, you see again with the dates of when this alert was collected and what was the value of the data of that alert. Directly from your alert inbox, you can also go into the managed system and view the analysis of that alert. So depending on what value that alert has, and this will show you the data live, what's in that system when you run that query. You also, so once you're done with your alert inbox, so this, you can also have operational control center. So if you're using your alert inbox for incident management, to confirm these alerts, to send these alerts, or to assign processes to these alerts, what Operation Control Center Alert Reporting does for you, it gives you the number of alerts, for example, the status. It gives you the number of alerts that are assigned to a processor. It gives you also data on who closed the alert, how fast was the alert closed, and so on. So, for example, for SLAs, this would be something great that you can use to see how are these issues handled in your environment. Further, you can jump deeper into the operational control center, and you can see charts over time of, for example, how your alerts are doing and when those are being closed and so forth. Okay, so now I'm going to jump into the demo. Okay, give me just 1 minute. So once you log into SAP Solution Manager, what you'll see is you'll have a grouping on top on here. You can search for example, for solution documentation, or any of the capabilities that you have on here. But you can also, from a grouping perspective, depending on what type of roles you have, but you can see here all of the grouping for the capabilities that you want to go into. For example, we're going to go to project and process management to go to solution documentation first. So what you'll see is once you click on project and process management, you'll see all the tiles that I have access to that I'm assigned to. From there, I'm going to go into solution documentation. Once you get into here, what you'll notice is I have a solution up here, demo C. I'm in maintenance right now. So the first thing that I want to kind of explain is the branch and how actually that works. So in our environment, we have a couple of branches. We have a production branch that's always read-only. So for example, anything that I create in my innovation and maintenance, it sits there until I push it to production, and that becomes my final documentation. Our innovation is anytime if we introduce any new projects that we're working with in the company, this is where we document all of our business processes until the project is over. So we work on innovation based on project based. Our maintenance this is where we maintain our current documentation. For example, anything that we have into our production, if we do introduce a new change to a field or anything that might be within our documentation, if it's even a test case, this is where we go and maintain our documentation, and then we push it back to production. So it's similar to how your N+1 environment would work, for example, with your development and your maintenance mode. So similar functionality is introduced also for the documentation. You also have system roles. So system roles in this case, it's important for documentation, but does not play a huge role up here. The only time the system role plays a role on here is if I do actually want to go into that transaction. So if I click on my quality system, and I do want to go into that, I click on that transaction within the documentation, it's going to log in. It's going to log me into my QA system because of the logical component grouping. So I'm going to jump into my business processes within my maintenance branch. I'm going to go to my order to cash end-to-end scenario. So this would be a folder, and then I have my scenario, which would be custom order management, for example. Within custom order management, and as you can tell, when I click on one of these folder business processes, I have additional type of elements that I can attach here. So you can have attachment or element documentation that supports that business processes, any type of documentation attached down here. If you right click, you see all types of artifacts, elements that you can attach it. If it's a configuration, IMG object, program, whatever it might be, development objects, diagrams, documentation, if it's a document, you know, DPD or BPR, whatever type of document, test case, you can assign it on here as well. You can have end user roles, executables, such as transaction theory tiles, and test cases as well. So that's within my scenario. Same thing goes for my business process. I can have multiple documentation. In our company, most of our documentation is related to the business process. So as you can tell, within my sales order processing, I have a configuration unit, which is an IMG object that's directly related to my system. So if I were to click on this one and then switch the role to my QA system, it would go directly into my IMG within my QA system. If I switch the role to a dev system, it would go within that dev system based on the logical component grouping. I also have packages on here. I have a sales order creation, a process diagram. So that relates to all of these. And then I have different type of documentation. So I have a VLB document on here. And I also have test cases, and I also have my alerting. So the alerting, this is a part of the business process monitoring. So if I want to monitor my sales order processing, this is where I will attach all of my alerting objects. Before I go into that, I'm going to open the sales order creation process diagram, just kind of give you an idea of how easy it would be to actually model your business processes within SAP Solution Manager without having any additional third-party tools. Just give it just a second, should open up quickly. Okay, just bear with us just a few more seconds. Okay. So as you can tell, these are all of my business processes. They're all my business process steps I have my level 4 that I have linked within this process model on here. So you see you have lanes, you have process steps, data object, data stores, systems, and free systems as well. So free systems would just be an external system, for example. That's not SAP that's attached on here. So very simple to document these. It's pretty much drag and drop. So anything that you wanted to grab on here will pretty much just be drag and drop. So fairly easy to do it. I'm going to close this, and then I'm going to go back to the documentation. So now these would be my process steps. So most of my process steps should have transactions attached to it. For example, display sales order, standard sales order. So depending on what type of transaction it is, what type of process it is, it should be a task or transactions that I have attached to it to execute that transaction on here. Now, I'm going to go into libraries and give you an overview of how the libraries look. So within the process step library, I have all of my L4s documented in here. So all of my business process steps in here. There are referenced into my end-to-end business processes. Then I would have my interface library. Depending on what type of interfaces, I will document all of my interfaces in here and reference them into my business processes. You can have your executable library, and this can also be generated automatically from running a report, as long as UPL data is running. As you can tell, this is based on components, SAP components, or how they define them within the managed system. And then all of the transactions are down here, so depending on that logical component group. Same thing as for your development library. So anything that you have in your system that's developed, you have all of your components, and then I would have all of my development objects down here as well. And this can also be generated automatically from SAP. Configuration library, this would be something that you would have to create manually. However, you can have all of your configuration library down here, and if you click on it, this would be, for example, an IMG object that goes to plant connectivity. So if you click on it, it would take you directly into the managed system where that IMG object is set up. And then I'm going to jump into the alerting library. So for example, we've divided this depending on what system we're running the alerting library. And then we have different type of KPI set up on here. I have some KPIs set up here for my production system. So if I click on the sales order created, I will show you one of the not default, but one of the KPIs is delivered by SAP. So SAP offers about around 1,000 KPIs out of the box that's pre-delivered with your SD API within the managed system that you can configure these KPIs based on this area here. So for example, as you can tell, I have different types of KPIs, so sales orders created, so count of sales orders, open sales orders, incomplete sales orders. Further than that, the good part about this is that you can actually filter these. So for example, open sale, you can filter these by sales document type or organization. Depends how you want to divide them, how do you want to get that KPI or consume that KPI, you can divide these. And then you would have a notification for incidents created directly from here. Right, so now I'm going to jump into the business process monitoring piece. So back again, if I go to the home page of SAP Solution Manager, click on the business process operation piece, monitoring piece. You see a tile on here called Business Process Monitoring. Once you click on it, it's going to take me to Business Process Monitoring main page. As of SP5, SAP slightly changed the UI for Business Process Monitoring. It's similar to Technical Monitoring. However, if you're not using SP5 yet, if you have upgraded Solution Manager to SP5, this screen will look slightly different. So once you get on here, what you'll get is a status overview. So how many of the KPIs do I have in error state? How many do I have in warning? How many are successful? And how many of them actually are not collected in it? There's something wrong with the KPI or just simply there's no data to collect. From there, you have the alert trigger. So these would be kind of my most critical KPIs that are collected. So these are based on, for example, because these run into issues each time, the alert and automatically detects these as being critical issues I have not fixed within my system. So from here, if you remember, within the solution documentation, I showed the business, the scenario, sales order management, and then sales order processing for wholesale. So these are all of my KPIs that I'm monitoring within that scenario. The process graphic that I showed within the solution documentation, what you'll see on here, you would see the same thing here. However, I'm monitoring all of those business processes that I've documented in there. So as you can tell, some of these are failing. They have alerts for them, and it's a failure. Some of these are passing. So from here, you can go directly into your alert inbox and see what are the issues or why is that business process is not running. You can also create a new notification for it. For example, a message or an email, you can create one directly on here and send it to a user, to whoever it might be. You can also create a new incident. So if you're using incident management within SAP Solution Manager, you can create a incident from here directly. You can link to alert inbox. If I click on this, it's just going to take me to the alert inbox, where I'm going to show that in just a bit. And then you can also have guided procedures. So for example, the way guided procedures would work is, if I do get an alert, I can set up a guided procedure that would work, that would show a process of how to fix that issue. For example, if I have creating sales order issues, I can set up a guided procedure for them to go in there, and these are the steps they need to follow to fix that issue. Okay, so now I'm going to go back into the overview one more time. If you click on one of the top parts on here, what you'll notice is these are all of my KPIs that I'm monitoring on there. I have a value, so as you can see, most of them, because we have a demo system, most of them don't have any data or value, but as you can see, I have for one of the KPIs, for material master data, I have a huge value on here. It's red. The rating is red, and also I can see the trend and the last time that data was collected. So, and the system that it's being collected from. If I do click on this value in here, I can launch my managed system directly from here. And it should run a query within the managed system and show me all of those values that we saw on there. All of those, I believe it was 15,833. So all of those values should show up on here. And then you can decide how do you want to move forward with this alert. So it's a very nice feature to have instead of building queries within your managed system. It's something that we see quite often being used. Okay, so now I'm going to jump into the alert inbox. A couple of ways to jump into the alert inbox. You can go directly from here. You can also, if you go back from the home page, there's also an alert and inbox tile that you can click on to take you directly there. When I go to my alert and inbox, so it's divided by, depending on what type of KPIs that you have. So if it's a throughout and backlog, all of my KPIs are filtered on here. If it's a job, interface, consistency issues between systems, exceptions, or performance. So all of those metrics are divided within this one screen. If you select one of the KPIs, so that's a grouping of the alert, then you'll see when was this alert collected. As you can tell, we have one on the 27th and one on the 31st. So we can open the latest one, and you can decide what you want to do with this alert. So you can confirm it, you can assign it to a processor, you can create an incident, or just create a notification to, for example, just say, yes, we did get this alert to have everybody notified. Create an analysis report, so this would just create the analysis for this KPI in a Word document. Show action log, so if somebody worked on this KPI, didn't resolve it, but also made some changes to it, it would show that action log. You can add a comment or search if you have a guided procedure to fix this issue. If I click on here, I can also launch the analysis report, similar to what I showed you before. And I also can see the metric and how many times this was actually collected within the system down here. And once you get on here, so what you'll see is about 6 tiles on here based on your, so for example, number of alerts per alert status. It will give you an overview of how many alerts are open per status, or how many workflows, how many alerts are assigned to a processor, number of confirmed alerts, so depending on how was the alert confirmed, if it was an automatic confirmation or through an incident. Also alert per confirmer, so how many alerts did somebody confirm. So just loaded, so it just gives it a few more minutes. I have to extract some data from the BW in order to populate it in here. Okay, so what you get on here from the top screen, what you'll notice is you have a time frame that you can choose. I'm going to go back to 12 months. If you apply this date, as you see, so the number of alerts that were confirmed, how many of the alerts were transferred, and how many of the alerts are still open on here. Number of alerts per processor. You can also see the number of confirmed alerts. There are without incidents, with incidents, and also manually. So it's just an overview, and for example, if you're reporting on SLAs, to see how your alert inbox is doing. Also, if you go into the second tab here, you can get more details about an alert. So if you, for example, for this ABAP job that we're monitoring within the business, you can see over time almost that spike was up. They went from yellow to red. Similar for these other alerts, so number of alerts per instance is like as of May 2017, we had a spike over here. So it's just a great way of data that's being collected for you without having to do any additional reporting capabilities, and data that you can report on easily. That's it for this demo. So I think we're going to transfer it back to Ivan, and let's see if you have any questions from you guys.
Yep, thank you everyone. So give me 1 second while I hold the presentation. So we have another poll question. So based on the demo that Valdrin gave, I was wondering if we would like to see if you would like an individual demo. So here's the poll that's pulling up. So we do have individual demos for various options in Solution Manager, like what we had today is process management, automated testing, change management, technical monitoring. So just wondering if you like a demo of individual demo of one of the subjects. I'm going to give you a few more seconds to answer the poll. All right, I'm going to close it. So it seems like there's quite a bit of interest in both automated testing and business process management. Okay. So now we're going to the Q&A. So thank you everyone for your attendance, and we do have some questions that the audience have asked. If you want to ask a question, again, you can go on to the Go to Webinar Control panel, and you can click on the question option and type it in, and you can ask this question. So one of the questions that we received today was from Rudy. Rudy asked, are the documentation stored on the SAP server or on an external platform like Upperform?
So the documentation it's actually stored in a database, but also you can have external content servers that you can store documentation, but that would have to be set up custom.
Okay, hope that answers your question, Rudy. So I have a question from Sid. What components of the library is system generated?
The executables and the development library is generated automatically. The rest, such as your configuration, your process step library, those have to be done manually.
Okay, that answers your question. So I have a question from Nathan. Can existing Visio process diagrams be imported? Can be imported into the new 7.2 modeling format?
Yes, not yet, but as of SP5. So if you do upgrade SAP Solution Manager to SP5, BPMN diagrams can be uploaded within SAP Solution Manager.
Okay, hope that answers your question. Give me 1 second while I look through the list. So Brent has a question. During upgrade, do I lose any of the KPIs that are already set up?
You do not. However, when you do your content activation, there's a procedure that you have to take in order not to lose those KPIs that are already set up. But anything that's set up in 7.1, it's migratable to 7.2.
Okay. And another question from Animesh. Do I need tracks in Solution Manager 7.2 if I'm using a standard database?
Yes, you do. So if you're not on HANA, well, you don't need Trex, but if you're doing solution documentation, ITSM, if you're using any of those functionalities, you do need Trex if you're not using HANA. Otherwise, you would not be able to reference or create any process diagrams without having a search engine capability.
All right. Thanks for the question, Animesh. Another question from Jody. Can I create custom BPMon KPIs if SAP does not fulfill our requirements?
Yes, SAP does offer a framework for you to create the KPI. So it's pretty much, the framework is there. You would just have to code where you want to pull the data from, tables and so on, and build the custom extractors. So yes, it's possible to build custom KPIs.
Okay, that's all the questions I see here. So if you have a question that you'd like to ask Valdrin, you can ask now. We're coming up to the top of the hour, so I don't see anyone asking another question. So thank you, Valdrin, and thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. Again, this is a part of a series of webinars that we'll be hosting, discussing topics regarding SAP Solution Manager 7.2. You can view our next webinar at coream.com/webinars. We really appreciate your presence, and if any further questions, please contact us. You also receive a follow-up email shortly with a link to view today's recording. I think I have one more poll question that I want to ask. So, would you like CoreM assistance on planning your project for one of the active Solution Manager projects that you have right now? So this is to understand and to help us plan our next webinar workshops. All right. I'm going to close the poll so that most of you have already answered. All right, thank you again, and on behalf of everyone here at CoreLM and our presenters, thank you for joining us today, and have a great weekend ahead. Thank you.